All right, everybody, welcome in. Happy Monday. It is President's Day here in the States. Jeff Ulrich said there's a holiday happening in Canada, but he's not completely clear as to what it is. But we are here for the Slate. We'll be with you for the next half hour or so, getting you caught up on what happened yesterday in the PGA Championship, the Genesis Open. Joaquin Niemann, your champion. We'll start looking ahead as well to the Honda Classic, which starts, of course, Thursday morning. And it's never too early to start looking ahead to the Masters. We are less than 2 months from the Masters being underway. Very exciting time, of course, with golf. And maybe we'll even squeeze in some thoughts on tonight's NHL 2-game slate. There were some games this afternoon, so a loaded Monday in hockey. But let's get to the task at hand here, Jeff. You had your you put a little sprinkle on Mr. Niemann to take home the Genesis Open. He does so. He was at plus 6,000 to win the championship, and he did.
Yeah, this is like one of those. It was one of those weeks for me where it was like, I just listened to the smarter people. Everyone was like, okay, Niemann's like a really good play this week. He's too big in the odds, and he definitely looked a little bit big to me. He didn't make my final betting. I'm not taking credit for it, but I just knew that so many people liked him this week that I just sprinkled a little bit on him, and it turned out, and that's great. And sometimes you should listen to smart people in your life. It never hurts. It's not the first time that's helped me out, especially in betting golf. So, Reed was one of those dudes. He should take full credit for it. So should a couple other people in the industry too. I know a guy we had on the sweat earlier in Ben Raza, who's super smart. And, you can give him a follow, Jazzraz DFS, I think, on Twitter. He was on it. So again, all these dudes said Niemann's a great play. It didn't help my DFS lineups because they suck, but betting wise, yeah, definitely improved my bankroll. So all shout out to those guys. And it was a good week to be on Niemann. Look, and let's just talk about him for a sec, because this is a great young player. And I do think he was mispriced last week. He was plus 6,000. Mm-hmm. I think that if you think about where Joaquin Niemann sort of sits in the talent level on the PGA Tour right now, and just his overall ability, this is a player who I think you're going to see win on a very consistent basis, like in an every year kind of thing. I think his game sets up, a lot in the same ways as guys like Colin Morikawa. I think Colin Morikawa might still be the higher end player, but I think Niemann is a player you're going to be seeing compete at a lot of big events through the year. And I think he's just sort of hasn't even really hit his stride. I think he's just probably coming into his prime. So it's a really good number and a player you should not be shying away from at big events going into the future.
Yeah, from a sports betting standpoint, the number is great. And Reed had him in his article as well at plus 900 just to finish top 5. I know there's a lot of elements that go into how to use you and Reed as examples to build a golf lineup. You look at the course, their history there. Momentum, of course, was something that was on his side from a previous tournament. How do you find the next Niemann each week, right? Because that's a number, like you said, he was probably too good to be priced at plus 6,000 to win a championship. How do you target a Joaquin Niemann-like player each week when you see a number like that?
I mean, the biggest thing is you shouldn't be looking for a specific number. It's not like you have to find the guy who's plus 10,000 or plus 6,000 every week. All we're doing is just looking for the best values to hit and then hoping that it works out. Like 2 weeks ago, Scotty Scheffler, I think, was around plus 3,000. And it was the same deal. It was just a really good young player. He had really hit it well in his last 2 times out. We know that Scotty Scheffler is another player who's probably, when he's in his prime, going to be winning like once a year. And he broke through and it worked out. And look, some of this is luck, but it's educated guessing, right? And we're doing it at the best risk reward scenarios. And Joaquin Niemann was a great example of that. So how do you find it? I mean, you focus on who the good young players are. And part of that is delving into the stats and looking at not just watching these guys' results, but realizing like who are the actual good players and paying attention to the sport a little bit too. Watching guys come up to the Korn Ferry Tour. Niemann's been around for a while. He's been a little bit of a streaky player, but if you watched golf, or if you've just, paid attention to the stats, that when Joaquin Niemann plays well, it's just like a different level. His approach game goes off the charts. Like he can get hot around the greens. I mean, he does everything, like I said, good, kind of to like a Colin Morikawa level. He just hasn't put it together as consistently as Morikawa, who is almost robotic out there at this point. But Joaquin Niemann has that upside. So you're looking for players with that kind of upside. maybe they haven't put it all together, but oftentimes these guys end up being young dudes, and we're just kind of waiting on them. And we were waiting on it for Scheffler for a bit, and he broke through. And we're waiting on it for Niemann. He grabbed his second win and easily the biggest win of his career. So you got to pay attention to these guys coming up. You got to pay attention to good young players who are spiking, but maybe not quite, closing the door. And then you got to look for them at good odds. And last week, like I said, man, I mean, even to me, the Niemann number stuck out. So and it stuck out to a lot of people. Who is that this week? I mean, this is a lot different field. So, we'll get to that, but that's how you look for it. You got to pay attention to the sport a little bit. You got to realize how these guys are. You got to listen to the smart people and learn a little bit about the stats. And then you've got to really just decipher each week in the odds. Are these guys compared to the field, bigger than they should be? And then you got to take advantage and put the bet down. So,
yeah. And of course, at the beginning of the week, you get an idea of what the course might be like and player history, but with younger golfers, to your point, you're not getting the same level of course history as a more experienced player. So you kind of have to take how they're playing more recently in previous tournaments, even going back 2 weeks, which is something that Reed considered. We're going to be talking a lot about Reed today. I'm just giving Reed a lot of credit, just bumping. Well, see, when it comes to evaluating quarterback play, we'll leave that to Jeff. But when it comes to evaluating, Kirk Cousins, but when it comes to evaluating young golfers and how you should attack the DK Sportsbook, we'll give Reed credit.
Sure, we'll give Reed a little bit of credit. No problem. A little bit, just a tiny bit.
Honda Classic starts this Thursday, so we will be the PGA Tour heads to Florida. Anyone jumping off the board to you right now as it pertains to the Honda Classic?
So all this talk about Niemann and how to look for value. I mean, it's not what I'd call that type of event. I don't think you're going to find, like a Niemann or anyone not down in the odds. I think the best case we could kind of make here is probably Matthew Wolfe at plus 3,500. Again, another player who we haven't seen win in a while, but he's definitely capable of winning every year on the PGA Tour, and you probably will see him do that. I'm just not sure if this is the right spot for Matthew Wolfe to necessarily break through. Honda Classic tends to be like just a very, you really got to be sharp around the greens. You don't want to be too wild with the driver. And Wolf's improved his around the green game, but I don't know if I necessarily want to trust him for 4 rounds here. So his number is bettable at plus 3,500. I'm just not sure if I'm necessarily like as enthused about that to sprinkle on it as I was about Niemann last week, but I think he should definitely be in the conversation. That's just a number in a field like this. Like Matthew Wolfe and Joaquin Niemann talent-wise, you might even give the edge to Wolfe long-term, but right now Wolfe is double the odds of Niemann. So that's probably like, the best sort of Niemann sort of this week that we could point to. But I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to get there. This has been an event in the Honda Classic where, we saw last year, veterans, man, like guys who can just be consistent around the greens, don't get rattled by hitting into the traps and stuff. They get around. Matt Jones, 12 under last year, won by 5 strokes. We've seen guys like Patrick Harrington, as my kids just turned off the lights in my office, and a couple other older players, break through and like just get it done by having a consistent week. So I don't know. Matt Wolfe is interesting. Again, maybe a player I'm still kind of on the fence about, but if there's like a Niemann to be out there this week, it's probably Matt Wolfe at plus 3,500.
So looking at how Matt Jones performed last year, you can check out Reed's write-up for the Honda Classic this week on the DraftKings playbook, dknation.draftkings.com. It was posted about an hour ago, so I encourage all of you to go check that out to get caught up. The cheat sheet, as you noted here, Jones finished 12 under, and you look at the last 5 winners. Jones played at an unreal level to capture this last year. Do you think it's going to take something similar to that, or can the level of play drop off slightly? Not to say that the other winners weren't very, very good, but Jones was just pretty insane last year.
Yeah, no. And I mean, like he was like Matt Jones he hit the ball well. He gained over 5 strokes on approach. And that's pretty much a given at this event. Like you have to have your irons working. But he also was insane around the greens. Like I said, he gained over 5 strokes, and that really set him apart from the other contenders like Aaron Wise, who was with him for a long time. And I mean, are we going to see that? No, I think typically we see this event actually come down really close at the end. We don't generally see too many breakaway winners. So Probably won't, but if someone just gets hot around the greens, you could. This has been an event where we've seen some big playoffs. So we had a 4-man playoff with McIlroy, like, 6 years ago. Berger and Harrington had that famous playoff. Justin Thomas and Luke List was in a playoff. This tends to be a very close event with there's just not much separating because there's not many birdies. Like, it's hard to pull away on this course, and there's bogey lurking or worse on virtually every hole. Like, the winner here will almost certainly make a double bogey this week. We've seen it happen a ton of times. I remember when Adam Scott won, I think in 2016, maybe like a triple or something, or maybe even it might have been a quad like on Saturday. So everyone's going to make bad numbers here. It's just limiting the numbers and then who can get hot with the putters and who can get hot around the green as well, obviously. So like I said, I expect a close event. I mean, you look at the top of the board, there's not a ton of guys that I necessarily want to, stick my neck out on, but I do think that my boy Usti is kind of in the best form of the group. And if we're talking about veterans who are really good around the green, Usti is top 20 in around the green stats. His ball striking's been trending. He's gained over stroke off the tee. That's probably where I'm starting. If I'm going to bet someone like under plus 3,000 this week, I considered Koepka, but I think Usti is the play. I really do. I'm going to have some exposure, and I'll ride with my guy this week. And I think it's a legit take because he's playing well, and he put in a good performance in his first outing, and he's kind of been priming up for this Florida swing. So I'm going to stick my neck out and say that's where you should be starting.
Usti with 2 top 25 finishes, and he's playing for just the 5th time at this event. I also noticed weather-wise, it should be okay. Thursday's going to have some gusts, but overall, things should be shaping up just fine for the event starting on Thursday, which is nice. In Florida, sometimes you always have to monitor the weather in Florida at Palm Beach Gardens.
Especially at this event, because like even when it's not that windy, like you'll get gusts. It's always a little bit gusty at PGA Nationals. So, and I mean, back to the Usti thing. I mean, this has been a pretty good venue for links players, like solid links players, Rory, Tiger, a guy like Padraig Harrington. I think that's good mojo to back a guy like Usti as well, who, I mean, is just well overdue for a win. And I really think he's got the game. I mean, he likes tough courses and just, you look at the trends. What do you want? A guy who's good around the greens, trending well with his approaches. That just really speaks to me. So you don't have to bet a guy at the top of the board this week, but that is where I would start if you're going, man. It's Usti week. So
would you ever consider someone who's at the top of the board? I'm just asking the question as a consumer, and also maybe someone who's newer to betting golf, or someone who wants to get involved last minute. Would you consider one of the bigger names up here in a live scenario on the DK Sportsbook? Like maybe they get off to a slower start and you can get a better number.
Absolutely.
Something along those lines, because if it is going to come down to approach, maybe it will take, that first day or day and a half to kind of get in a mojo.
Yeah. And I mean, this event, the other thing you see leaders crumble here all the time, right? So if you're not sold on my Usti take, be like, oh, maybe like Jeff's got a point. I just don't want to bet him. Watching him, if he's a couple strokes back going into Sunday or on the weekend, fire it up. Brooks Koepka is another player you could kind of think about in that scenario. The number's not great. It's smaller than it was last week, but Koepka's put in a couple, like he put in a top 5 finish 2 weeks ago. I mean, I think that was the other player I was kind of looking at here. So yeah, absolutely. I think this is actually a good event for that because there's so much volatility. I mean, a player can go from having a 2-shot lead, hit it in the drink on the bear trap, take a triple, and be out of the lead so fast. You see the odds flip here like big time. So yeah. This is actually a really fun event for live betting. I know a couple times in the past I have gotten on guys at really, really good numbers and gotten themselves in the mix. I can't remember if they pulled through or not. Probably not, because I don't have good memories of it. But you get my drift that this is a good event for live betting. Absolutely, for that reason.
Very good. All right. So again, make sure you check it out on the DK Sportsbook throughout the course of the week, and be sure to find ways to get involved in this, even though you can, of course, make your plays now and get in on the Honda Classic. There is a live betting component that Jeff is for as it pertains to this event. Also, just looking at some other trends that you have here, 7 of the last 10 winners ranked 44th or better in sand save percentage in the year of their victory at the PGA. So you think the bunkers and the sand here are going to be a big part of this event?
Yeah. So that's kind of just like an interesting stat to point out. I mean, you don't necessarily have to look at sand save percentage. It's not something we like people will ever mix into their models or anything, or at least I doubt most people do. But it's there to just prove a point that there's a ton. There's like over 100 bunkers on this course. There's a ton, and guys are going to get in the sand. And if you do look at past winners, they're all really good sand players. Like it's a pretty big trend. I don't know if you want to just don't necessarily have to use that as like your be all end all stat. It's more just something to point out. And it's another reason why I like a guy like Usti, but you can go down and sort of pinpoint players who might be playing well and say, okay, well, a guy like Alex Noren, a very good sand player, top 20 ranked. I like him too, a plus 3,500. And I mean, his approach game has been trending well. I think a plus 3,500, this is a good event. He finished third here. I think it was 3 years ago now. It might have been 4 years ago. It was 2018. Came very close to the win, and he's been playing better. He's a great sand player, but you can go to veterans. Like I said, it's been a great event for veteran players. Chris Kirk is a good sand player, just a good all-around player, like around the green player too. I really like him, a plus 7,000. I think that's a great bet because his irons have been consistent. He's good around the greens, and he's not going to be phased by hitting it in the bunker a couple times. So you do want to. Around the green, it's a weird way of saying by looking at sand save percentage that around the green play this week is something I would really emphasize. If your guy is struggling around the greens, because the greens here are hard to hit, these fast greens are small greens, and you're going to have long approaches because the fairways are skinny, there's dog legs, you're going to miss greens. And if you can't get up and down, or if you're taking like doubles from the bunkers and stuff, like it's just going to ruin your week. So you need these guys who are really savvy around the greens. Sometimes it's just to save bogey for you, if they get offline on a hole. And guys like Chris Kirk can do that. Noren is very, very good at that. And there's a couple other players, we can go down the list, but again, I just come back to the list of winners here, and it's veteran players, kind of almost long shots that generally hold up here. So.
As always, a long list if you make your way through and sift through it. Yeah, I think you brought up a good transition point. We can get into some DFS as well. Those of you that have questions that want to get a lineup in on DraftKings.
Yeah, absolutely.
You think Kirk is a good call to get started for this event? Perhaps to set up 250K to first place up on DraftKings right now.
I like Kirk a lot for DFS. Yeah, I do. 7,600. And I mean, it's more of just, where he is in this field, right? I mean, you look up towards him and it's a weaker field, sure, but Russell Knox, who I actually also like Russell Knox this week. I mean, he's got a good record here. He's almost won a PGA National a couple times, and he's hitting the ball well. But Russell Knox is $500 more expensive, $600 more expensive. A couple other dudes like Ryan Palmer, CT Pan, Brian Harmon. Like all these dudes are, I mean, none of them are clearly better players than Chris Kirk. If anything, like they're very similar, and Chris Kirk might be playing better than them. So, again, just as a natural kind of common sense thing, like Chris Kirk at 7,500 really stands out. He's got the same kind of skill sets. He's playing well. He's coming off his best finish of the year, and he's got a good record here. Like he's played here a bunch of times. He clearly likes the event. So yeah, at 7,500, I mean, that is kind of where I'm clicking in that range. I mean, I don't mind Poulter. I actually really like Lucas Glover down there, but I would rank Kirk just slightly above Glover. I think that, with his ability around the greens, I'd bump Kirk up a little bit. And I mean, like you're going to trust Ricky Fowler at this point? No, because he stinks. Poulter's kind of interesting, but he hasn't really been playing on tour. He does usually play well here, but he really hasn't played that well this year in general. Like he's got 3 missed cuts in his last 4 starts. So I really think Chris Kirk is the play there in that range. And he offers you like really good, just as a pure way to go balanced on a week where there's a lot of uncertainty once you get under 8K. So
Ricky has some good history here though at this event.
He does.
Right?
He does. He has very good history. I mean, he's almost won it twice. He's won it once, finished runner up, but I mean, we're like 3 years removed from him having a good
Right.
result here. I think 2 or 3, and I mean, I guess he played a little bit better last week, but only made 9 birdies versus 9 bogeys. He did have an eagle. I don't know, man. I don't think it's quite there yet. He might just pop up randomly. It could happen, but I haven't really seen Ricky get into like full gear. So 7,600 in this field, sure. I get why people might gravitate towards him. He's a really good sand player too, and I think that's part of the reason why he has so much success around here. But I don't know. He's a pretty volatile GPP play right now, and not one I'm necessarily like begging to get on. So
he doesn't fit in your statute of limitations. Meaning,
that's right. He's outside the statute of limitations. He needs a good round before he gets back in it. He really just, and like that's the thing. I mean, even when he's making cuts, it's not like he's piling up birdies. Like his birdie rate is atrocious. He's making too many like doubles or worse. And now we're coming to a really tough venue. So maybe the around the green game and the putter really heats up this week. I could see that, but I don't think it's going to be enough necessarily to make him like a vital play or anything. You've got a guy like CD Pan is playing pretty well. You could go to him, but I really feel like Kirk and Glover are both better plays than Ricky right now. So
we'll take your questions. If you have them, please get them in, and we'll discuss whatever you'd like from a gambling standpoint or daily fantasy for the Honda Classic. And also we can start looking ahead to the Masters, because that is an event that folks get really fired up for. And for some, it's like, I'm trying to think of the, I'll use a college basketball comp. Like folks start getting into college basketball right when football ends. That's
right,
when they start paying attention. They get caught up. Okay, who's having a good year? Who makes a lot of sense? It's not apples to apples, because I realize in golf, there are a lot more factors that do come into play in terms of how the tour is going.
People start getting to golf a lot this week too, because NBA is off, right? So they have nothing to do for like 2 or 3 days. And then the Florida swing, and then we got a couple bigger events. So this is kind of a week where people start getting into golf too. But you're right. It really comes at the Masters, where everyone turns into like a golf expert. They go from like, oh yeah, I'm watching football, and then they're just like, they know everything about golf the week of the Masters. It always happens. I love it. It doesn't matter. Whatever. I'm fine with it.
Hey, something too here.
I talked NASCAR last week, Glash. So I mean, I guess I'm not really the guy to be like getting on other people for talking about other sports. So
hey, versatility is important in this space. It is. Okay. And the other thing too is here, at least on the East Coast, more folks are playing golf as we're not quite there yet, but we could be. It's actually going to be 70 degrees here on Wednesday. So,
wow. Lucky you, man.
So, well, I would check your weather apps. It might be warmer where you are too. Maybe I might be making that up. No, not close.
You're making it up.
All right.
It's cold here.
All right. Never mind. Well, I got your hopes up. Any early developing thoughts on the Masters that you'd like to discuss? I've got the odds up here on the DK Sports.
Sure.
You're up now, folks, if you want to take a look.
I mean, do you still have the Honda Classic odds up?
I can grab them right now. And here
go there for a sec, because I just want to. Then we will have to come back to it. We can move on to hockey. But before we moved on, there's a couple like dudes longer in the odds I liked. I met, I just had to mention this guy, because Matthias Schwab at plus 15,000. Again, I mean, these odds to me are just too big. Like Schwab has a lot of talent. And a plus 15,000. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to win this week. It's pretty unlikely, but these are too big odds for a player who's got this much talent. I don't know if I'd put him in the same class as Niemann, but like he's got a similar style of game where he just gets super hot with his irons. Can definitely keep up with the best players in the world in that regard. Obviously hasn't been playing on the PGA like a ton or anything. So I don't think most people are going to gravitate towards him, but just a player to keep in mind. Might be a good top 20 bet or something, or a good GPP play, because as you see, like his record at AT&T there, he shot a 62. Like that's the kind of things Matthias Schwab is capable of. And one day you will see this player get hot like Niemann did for a full 4 rounds and probably win a PGA event. So I just wanted to point him out at plus 15,000. But the player I really like this week, especially for a top 20 bet, is Sung Kang. Where is he in the odds? I think he's plus 25. Where did you go, Kang? No, he's plus 30. He's plus 30,000 on DraftKings. He is way down there. I love these odds, man. You can get him plus 1,800 for a top 10, and plus I think it's plus 7 or plus 800 for a top 20. Wow. So Kang is a really streaky player. He's at plus 3,000. You'll find it. It's Sung Hoon Kang.
You said for a top 20 finish?
Yeah. Top 20 or top 10. I mean, pick your poison. I like the odds in top 20. I think he's plus 700. But he really he's very high end putter. His around the green game has been consistent. There he is. And he's hit the ball really well his last 2 times out. He gained like almost 5 strokes on approach. He's played the Honda Classic a bunch too. I like that play this week a lot. If you're looking to add like a kind of a top 20 play, I think he's very underrated at those prices. He's been playing a lot, like just over his last 2 starts, he's just outplayed pretty much everyone in this range. And with this week of field, like Sung Kang could easily get hot and post the top 20. I think those are really massive odds on him this week. So I wanted to point that out. We'll see how this rolls later in the week, but yeah, that like, I almost like that. That's probably my favorite bet of the week. I mean, I know I brought up some good outrights already, but that like, honestly, Sung Kang top 20 plus 700, probably my favorite bet right there.
Finished 26th at the Waste Management Phoenix Open, 42nd AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Pretty good. I mean, 6 under, 8 under, last 2 events.
Yeah, he's been improving, and it's improving in the ball striking. So if that carries over, I think we'll hit our top 20. So,
all right, very good, good stuff. And that, like Jeff said, he's at plus 700 right here to finish top 20. So you got to navigate the sports book very carefully. You got your winner, your top 20. Well, see, in the winner, they also put top 5 and top 10 inside the winner tab as well. So if you're looking for that. How about the Masters? Any developing thoughts that you'd like to get into? Just very light, that maybe you have a thought on the event itself, and there's something you just got to get off your chest before you forget about it in 2 months?
No, not necessarily. I mean, it's, obviously we're getting closer, and you can start seeing where guys might end up in the odds and stuff, and how guys are trending. I think the top players in the world, like Morikawa, we're not getting a discount on anymore. Obviously, Spieth's Augusta course history is priced in. Even Rory at plus 1,400. I mean, it's really like not that great a number, but I am still surprised Patrick Cantlay, who has been really, really close to winning, making cuts every week, he's still available plus 1,600. I mean, I'm not saying Cantlay's better than Morikawa or Thomas, but he's kind of been better than those guys over the last couple months. Like, he's been very good at the very least. He's been just as good as those guys, if not better. So, I mean, Patrick Cantlay plus 1,600 is an interesting bet. I mean, again, it's not like supreme value or anything, but that's kind of where my eyes go to the top of the board. I think the guy who's still not getting really like the respect he probably deserves, Victor Hovland, though. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of funny. I mean, he's played just as good as Morikawa to start the year, probably better than Justin Thomas to start the year. And plus 2,200, still available over plus 2,000 for Victor Hovland. He's up to 3rd in the world at one point. I don't know where he stands right now. I think he's still in the top 5, but he's not priced anywhere near the top 5 odds. He's almost double Morikawa. So it's pretty hard to stand here and say that like the value doesn't lie with Victor Hovland, who we'll have to check out his Masters record here. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I mean, he certainly has the game to win majors, and he's improved his around the green and putting over the last little bit. So I assume that part of this is just Victor Hovland not having like the big experience, but I mean, he was T21 at the last Masters. We've seen players come into Augusta and win with worse experience levels than that. So, I mean, Victor Hovland at plus 2,200. I don't think you're going to see this player available too much longer at this price. That's probably the best way to phrase it.
So if you want to get him now, is you're encouraging?
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think that you're going to see Victor Hovland get bigger in odds from here on out. I mean, he would have to have a really bad stretch from here up to Augusta. And I'm talking like no top 10s, maybe not even a top 20. I think for his odds to really like push past plus 2,500. So I think that's a very fair number on Vic. It's probably just like, it's certainly the number on Victor Hovland is not based on recent form. He's outplayed Dustin Johnson, Spieth, Morikawa. He's basically outplayed almost all these guys. Maybe not Morikawa, but very close. And, he's, like I said, like, it's just like an experience thing. Like Rory's played there more times, so he's got like shorter odds. Same with Justin Thomas. It's not because of form. Victor Hovland's played extremely well. He's racked up wins, another win overseas. So I don't know. They're still giving you like a slight discount on Vic. Just wanted to point that out. The rest of the guys, I don't know if there's anyone else that necessarily sticks out big time to me. Man, I guess Jason Day and Adam Scott are actually both kind of interesting. Jason Day, we saw healthy, played really good there at Pebble again. Of course, he's traditionally played really well at. Yeah, the thing with Day is you'd like to see more good play from him before you jump in. But at the same time, if Jason Day posts like one more top 10 or one more top 5, this number could easily just drop down to plus 4,000. So I don't know. It's probably asking too much. You don't necessarily have to do it, but I just really feel like Jason Day has another major left in him. And if he does get healthy, like he's got a great record at Augusta. I mean, he has come very close numerous times. I think the better number is probably on Adam Scott, who really was playing well for portions of last week. He kind of blew it there on Sunday and just kind of blew up a little bit, but his game looks really close and he's playing more. And I'm almost surprised to see him at this price still. I mean, bigger than Webb Simpson, bigger than Mark Leishman. I don't even really mind Mark Leishman, but I mean, like bigger than Matthew Fitzpatrick. I think Adam Scott is pretty good value plus 6,500. And if he posts one more decent start, I don't think you'll see that number there for too much longer either. So I think Adam Scott, Jason Day, both interesting. Adam Scott's probably the number if you're looking for a future that you might want to jump on a little quicker.
Yeah, it feels like at the top of the board, the books want folks to jump on some name recognition. And like you said, if you're patient or not, well, if you're patient on those guys, you might get better numbers, but some folks down here, like a Hovland, for example, you're getting a good price. So keep that in mind as the tournament approaches. It will be here before we know it, the Masters. I'm already seeing commercials for it. It's great. So when you brought that up today to bring it up to Masters, I thought makes sense because I've already seen the commercials. They're already getting ready to go. Which is great.
Springtime, man. It's the azaleas, the quiet music. Love it.
Great.
Goosebumps.
We have a couple more minutes. There are a couple of NHL games tonight.
Yes. Let's get
so
to
we
it.
can dive into the NHL. So those of you that aren't normally hockey people, maybe you are. But some folks with the NBA on the All-Star break, maybe you want to take a little look at the NHL slate tonight. There are a couple of games.
Take a little look. Let's go.
Carolina's in overtime right now with Philly. You got a live betting prediction on Winnipeg and Calgary?
I was just looking at that. And I mean, I think it's a good time to hop on the Jets. I mean, Calgary's been playing a lot lately. They might be out of juice. Winnipeg hasn't been playing that bad. I would jump on the Jets personally, a plus 165. That's a pretty big number. For a game that's tied 1-1 division. I'd be absolutely fine with that. I mean, that really popped up to me. Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I did a show like this with you.
We had live
this hour to have a live line in the NHL. It's great.
I know it's kind of cool. I mean, I wish we had that option more. Maybe as the summer goes on, and if we ever get baseball back and we get more matinees or something, we'll get more of that. But it is fun to have the live lines. I mean, I think the Jets there are a good play. That's a big line. I mean, I don't even know what the Jets were pregame. I don't think they were too much bigger than that. So to get a 1-1 game and plus 165, I'd jump on it.
What don't we know? What don't we know?
What don't we know? The Jets are playing with 3 skaters in the second half, the third period. No,
now I'm curious. Kidding. Now I'm actually curious as to what the line might have been before.
I'm actually not sure. I want to say it was plus 200 or something, but I'm not sure.
On another book that I won't name, I see 240. Okay, interesting. Well, I don't have DraftKings in front of me. I went to the ESPN app. That's where I went and found it. Anyway. All right, well, we got 2 games tonight. Toronto and Montreal. They start at 7. And then the Kraken taking on the Canucks. The Kraken, as much as I want to get in on that team, they're kind of annoying. Like they really do throw a wrench into things.
They're not good.
No, but like they stubbornly sometimes show up and give teams a hard time.
And I'll be dead honest. I mean, I kind of like him tonight. This line was, I think, plus 140 this morning, and it's moved to plus 155. Actually, I want to just get some confirmation who's starting. If Grubauer is starting, I would be interested in this line. Dredger's been okay, but Grubauer has shown signs that he's playing better of late. Who are we getting? Oh, we're getting Chris Dredger. So I don't know. Here's the thing. The Canucks really have not played well of late. They've allowed like 20 goals over the last 4 games or something. Their goaltender hasn't been good. And the Kraken are coming off like a really close loss to the Flames. I think you see the Kraken pull the upset tonight. I do. Their offense has been a little bit better. They've got Mark Giordano working the back end now. And they're going up against a really weak special teams in the Vancouver Canucks, especially their penalty kills are brutal. So I'm actually on the Kraken at plus 155. I don't mind that play at all, but I do kind of like just going to the player props tonight.
Sure.
My first one is actually Mark Giordano. I pointed this one out this morning, but just to score a point, he's plus 130. He's going to be playing a ton of power play minutes, most likely against the worst penalty kill in the league. So that's great. And then, again, this is just a player who plays big minutes. So plus 130 to score 1 point. You could even look at him to score a power play point if you wanted to get a little more dicey at plus 295. I would just take the plus 130 to score a point. Those are good odds. He's got 6 assists in his last games. He's got 3 assists in his last 4 games. He's going to be out there for the majority of any power play minutes. So we like that. He's just playing a lot too. I think Giordano is fine to score a point. And then the other one I like is Austin Matthews just to grab an assist in this game. And you say, why assist? Why not points? Well, his points prop is to score over 1.5 points, which could happen. But Austin Matthews has 10 assists in his last 10 games. So he's averaging an assist a game. And I don't think these odds reflect what his production is. I mean, like, he's basically become a bit more of a playmaker. Mitch Marner is finishing a lot. He's got another decent finisher in Michael Bunting. And I mean, the big thing is he's playing the Canadiens.
Right.
The Maple Leafs have a 4.4 goal implied goal total. 4.4 implied goal total. Like, they're expected to score almost 4.5 goals. So if there's 5 goals, like,
got to have an
even if there's just 4 goals on the Leafs, Matthews is probably going to be in on one of them, either as a goal scorer, as an assist guy, but getting minus 120, I think that's a misprice. So that's the other player prop I really like. Austin Matthews, again, just an assist. You're getting minus 120. You get I don't even really mind going over 1.5 points. Like, that's fine. Plus 135, but I like the assist one better.
Probably more of a sure thing too, I guess, right? You just got to get that one.
It's just kind of going with the trends too. Like, ever since him and Marner have been together, he's been racking up more assists. So yeah, again, it's not like a 2-game trend we're playing. We're playing like a 10, 12 game trend here, which I think is fine.
All right, good stuff, my friend. That's all the time we got. We got to get out of here for the next round.
We don't have my NASCAR picks yet. What? I'll save them for Wednesday with Emerson. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, it's Golf Guy Wednesday.
Well,
so
we can't make the as I've found out, the positions in NASCAR doesn't get released till later in the week, so you can't even make.
All right, well, we have that to look forward to.
Weird sport.
You're covering 3 sports now at DraftKings, right? NHL, PGA, and NASCAR.
I'm not actually covering NASCAR. I just come on segments with Pierce, and he gets to tell me how bad my picks are. It's fun though.
You should change your Twitter name to NASCAR Jeff. just to mess with Pierce.
I'm going to do that.
NASCAR Jeff.
On Friday, right before our segment, I'm going to do that. NASCAR expert at the Fantasy Ground.
All right, that's it for us. I will not be here tomorrow. I'll be here Friday. Kaufman's subbing in for me. I think Kaufman's with. What are we doing tomorrow on the show? Because the NBA's got on breaks. Are they going to do NBA futures? I would guess.
NBA futures. You guys could talk a little NASCAR. I don't know. Who is it usually? Shirag and Matt?
Yeah, we'll do NBA, but no games tomorrow.
I'm sure they'll do futures.
Because LeBron got his wish. They got the whole week. They get a whole week off. Like,
that's right. I mean, they can talk futures. They can talk player moves. I'm sure those 2 guys can talk anything.
Oh, there's plenty. There's plenty. Yeah, there's a lot. There's just a lot going on off the floor too. So, all right. Look forward to that. I'll be back with LaMarca Friday. We'll do some
Ooh.
basketball. We'll have games to talk about Friday night. That'll be good. So I got lucky on that end. Thanks to Eamon and Daniel behind the scenes. Madden's coming up for those of you watching on YouTube and Twitch. Thanks to those of you watching on Twitter. We're here about 5 o'clock every weekday. You have the sweat tomorrow at 11 to get you set for more hockey, college basketball, and getting you ready for the Honda Classic as it nears. So thanks for watching the Slate, and we will see you again tomorrow.